Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Absorption in stomach is very little. Some water, ions like iron, and drugs like aspirin and ethanol, that is fat soluble, are absorbed from the stomach into the blood, accounting for quick relief of headache after swallowing aspirin. Most of the absorption of the nutrients or food takes place in small intestine. Functions of the stomach. Three main functions of the stomach are: first one, it stores the food. This allows us to eat a large number of food calories in a relatively short time and then digest it over a longer period. Without the stomach's storage capacity, we would need to eat very small amount of food continuously throughout the day. As the small intestine digests food very slowly, so the stomach has to store food. Second function of the stomach, it breaks down large fat and protein molecule that are present in the food, release gastric juices containing HCl and digestive enzymes. The HCl also kills the bacteria. The powerful muscles present in the stomach churn or mix the food into paste known as chyme. Third function of the stomach, it empties partially digested chyme into the duodenum, first part of small intestine, through pyloric sphincter. The mechanism of gastric juices excretion, it is under chemical and nervous control. Sight, smell, taste and hearing of delicious food stimulate the nervous system, causes watering of the mouth. Russian scientist Pavlov proved this by an experiment. He cut the esophagus of dog and left the cut end open to the outside. When he fed this dog with the food did not reach the stomach, yet the stomach results in secretion of about 1/4 of the normal gastric juices. 1/4 mean 1 part out of 4 parts. This showed that gastric secretion is under the control of reflexes. Hormone gastrin control the gastric juice secretion. Food stimulate the endocrine cell to secrete gastrin. Gastrin absorbed by blood carries it to the gastric gland to secrete gastric juices. The diagram of the alimentary canal of human being. Mouth region, salivary gland are present in the mouth. 3 different types of salivary gland on the basis of their location. Sublingual, lingual is derived from a Latin word lingua, which means tongue. Sub word is for below. Parotid gland, parotid is the combination of 2 words. Par mean next to, otid means ear, and submandibular gland. All 3 of them are the salivary gland. From the mouth, food moves into the esophagus, and from the esophagus it enters into the stomach. This is the liver. Along with the liver, gallbladder is present. The function of liver is to secrete bile. The bile goes to the gallbladder, stored and concentrated there. Stomach opens into the small intestine. 3 parts of small intestine. First one is known as duodenum, second is known as the jejunum, and last is known as the ileum. Terminal word is for the end. The ileum opens into the large intestine. The first part of large intestine is known as cecum. Along the cecum, the smallest part is known as the appendix. In the appendix, white blood cells are stored. Second part of the large intestine, colon. 4 parts of the colon. The part of the colon that moves upward is known as the ascending. This one is known as the transverse colon. The part that moves downward is known as the descending, and this one is known as sigmoid colon. Sigmoid colon is named because of it is curved in the form of S, Greek sigma. Colon open into the third part of the large intestine, rectum, and the last part of large intestine, that is known as the anus. Food in the small intestine. The chyme from the stomach pass into the duodenum, first segment of the small intestine, that is about 10 inches long. From the stomach, food enters into the duodenum through pyloric sphincter. Food takes 4 to 5 hours to pass through the stomach into the duodenum. Small intestine is the longest section of digestive tract, approximately 17 feet. It is divided into 3 segments. First one is known as duodenum, second one is known as jejunum, and third one is known as the ileum. Food from the stomach to intestine moves by means of peristalsis. Functions of small intestine. Small intestine helps in the chemical digestion. It breaks down proteins or peptides into amino acids, break down lipids into fatty acid and glycerol, and convert the carbohydrate into simple sugars. To accomplish this chemical digestion by means of small intestine, the chyme is mixed with the bile that comes from the liver or gallbladder, and pancreatic juice and amylase from the pancreas. Small intestine also releases enzyme like maltase help to break down maltose, lactase help to break down lactose, and sucrase that break down sucrose to break down and assist in nutrient absorption. Absorb nutrient flow in the bloodstream to the liver for the purpose of further metabolism. They are either stored in the liver or sent to the cell in other parts of the body where they are needed. Food takes 4 to 5 hours to transit or transport in all 3 sections of small intestine. Along the way, its consistency changes from chyme to thin watery mixture. Digestive function of duodenum. It is derived from a Latin word duodenum digitorum, means 12 fingers or inches. Duodenum is subdivided into 4 segments: superior, descending, horizontal, and ascending. The stomach opens into the small intestine by means of this pyloric sphincter. The uppermost part of this duodenum is the superior region. The part that moves downward is known as the descending region. This part is known as the horizontal region, and the part that slightly moves upward is known as the ascending region. Duodenum opens into the second part of the small intestine known as jejunum. Inside the duodenum, chyme is mixed with the bile coming from the gallbladder and pancreatic juice from pancreas. The function of bile is it breaks down fat particles into smaller droplets, while the pancreatic juice contain the enzymes and sodium bicarbonate. The function of enzymes coming from the pancreas. Lipase, it converts fats into fatty acid and glycerol. Trypsinogen, it is inactive form of an enzyme trypsin. When trypsinogen from the pancreas reaches the intestine, in intestine it became activated. Trypsin helps to break down protein. Third enzyme, amylase, helps in the breakdown of carbohydrate or starch. Function of sodium bicarbonate, it neutralizes stomach acid. Chyme that is coming from the stomach is acidic. As the stomach contains HCl, so the chyme that is coming from the stomach into small intestine, it also contains acid. pH of the small intestine is basic, so in order to neutralize the acidic chyme coming from the stomach, sodium bicarbonate helps it to neutralize. Glands present in the small intestine. The gland found in the epithelial lining of small intestine. The name of the gland is crypt of Lieberkühn. Crypt word means hide or underground. Lieberkühn was the name of the scientist. The group of enzymes secreted by this gland, crypts of Lieberkühn, that group of enzyme is known as succus entericus intestinal juice. Word succus means juice. Entericus is derived from word enteron, which means intestine. Enzymes included or that form the succus entericus. First one, iriepsin, helps in breaking down proteins. Lipase, breakdown of lipids. Lactase, breakdown of lactose. Invertase or sucrase, breakdown of sucrose. Maltase, breakdown of maltose. Enterokinase, the function of enterokinase is it activate trypsinogen into trypsin. Trypsinogen comes from the pancreas. It is inactive form. In the presence of enzyme enterokinase, trypsinogen become activated into trypsin. Second part of the small intestine, jejunum, derived from a Latin word jejunus, that means empty, because it is typically found empty during dissection. And why it is empty? Because of the intensive or too much peristalsis. Jejunum is 4 to 7 feet long. Pancreatic juice, along with the enzymes from the jejunum wall, finalize the food digestion. Third part of the small intestine, known as ileum. It is 5 to 7 feet in length, linked to the large intestine by means of ileocecal valve. Ileo word is for the ileum and cecal word is for the cecum. Ileum, last part of small intestine. Cecum, first part of large intestine. Function of the ileum, it absorbs the nutrients and bile also absorbed here and returned to the liver through blood. Unabsorbed watery remains of the food chyme now pass into the large intestine for the purpose of water removal and final processing before being expelled or removed from the body. Absorption of the nutrients in small intestine. Most of the nutrients in our food are absorbed in the small intestine. Small intestine is 17 feet long but known as small intestine because its diameter is small. The intestinal wall is covered in wrinkles called rugae, which themselves covered in a million of finger-like projection known as villi. The villi themselves covered with a million of smaller projections known as microvilli. This provides surface area of about tennis court for nutrient absorption. Means if the small intestine is taken out of the body, opening it and measure it, it is equal about the size of a tennis court. This longer size of the small intestine helps in maximum absorption of nutrients present in the food. Anatomy of small intestine. This is the small intestine having the wrinkles or rugae. This structure is known as wrinkle or rugae. They are further divided into many finger-like projection. This is known as villi, singular villus. The villus itself is converted into many small projections known as microvilli. Inside each villus, a series of lymph vessels and blood vessels are present. Blood vessel capillaries. As the names given to the blood vessels like arteries, veins and capillaries, the vessels that are carrying the lymph in them are known as lacteals. This is the diagram. In the center, this pink tube is known as the lacteal. Blue color shows the veins are present. This red color shows arteries are present. Along with them, blood capillaries are also present. As the lacteals, they are slightly wider than blood capillaries, so they absorb the fats. Fats are larger compound as compared to the carbohydrates and protein. So the blood capillaries, because of their size, cannot absorb the fats. So fats are absorbed by the lacteals, while other nutrients like proteins and carbohydrates are directly absorbed by the blood vessels. So the fats are absorbed by means of lymph vessel lacteal. From the lacteal, they move into the thoracic duct. Thoracic duct, that is the largest lymph vessel. As the largest artery is known as aorta, largest vein is known as vena cava, so the largest lymph vessel is known as the thoracic duct. From the thoracic duct, the fat moves into the bloodstream. Blood vessels absorb other nutrients and transport them via hepatic portal vein to the liver. Hepatic word is for the liver. Portal mean gate or door. The function of hepatic portal vein. This vein conveying blood to the liver from the veins of the intestine means it absorbs the nutrients. The veins that are present in the blood vessels that are present in the small intestine absorb the nutrients from small intestine, and from these vessels blood move into the hepatic portal vein. Hepatic portal vein carry that blood towards the liver. Functions of the liver. First one, in liver blood is filtered, toxins are removed, and nutrients are processed. Second, regulation of blood glucose level. Glucose in response to the hormone insulin is converted into glycogen. If glucose is present in human body in many number, it will combine together and form glycogen in response to the hormone insulin. If body again needs energy, the glycogen in response to the hormone glucagon converted back to glucose. Digestion in the large intestine. There are 4 parts of the large intestine: cecum, colon, rectum, and anal canal. All the nutrients are absorbed in the small intestine while the watery waste passes to the large intestine. Large intestine, it is the final section of gastrointestinal tract, and its main function is to remove water and any remaining minerals. Large intestine compress waste in a form for easy expulsion or removal from the body. As chyme passes through large intestine, water is removed and waste is combined with the mucus and bacteria. Bacteria, the gut flora, bacteria that are present naturally in our intestine. The excess bacteria or the dead bacteria will move out of the body along with the feces or waste material, and all this is converted into feces moving out of the body. How waste move through large intestine? By the process of peristalsis. What is peristalsis? Involuntary contraction and relaxation of the muscles, creating wave-like movement that push the content forward. In small intestine, the waves or peristalsis occur at irregular interval, means it is not continuous. But in the large intestine, peristalsis is continuous. 2 to 3 times a day, a more vigorous or a strong type of movement occur, that is known as gastrocolic reflex. Gastro word is for the stomach, colic is for the colon. Gastrocolic reflex occur which propel or move the material toward the rectum and then to anus. As waste material pushed to the rectum, it triggers or stimulates a desire to defecate, means to discharge the feces from the body. Structure of large intestine. Large intestine, also known as bowel. or lower gastrointestinal tract. It is a thick tube, 5 feet in length, and gets narrower in diameter. Its length is less than small intestine, but it is known as a large intestine because having diameter more than small intestine. There are 4 regions of the large intestine: cecum, colon, rectum, and anal canal. First one is the cecum. It is a short pouch into which food enters from the ileum through ileocecal valve and exit into ascending colon, second part of large intestine. Second part of the large intestine, colon. It is the longest segment, itself subdivided into 4 sections. These 4 sections named after their position in pelvis. What is pelvis? The lower part of the trunk between the abdomen and the thighs. The 4 parts or sections of the colon: ascending, transverse, descending, and sigmoid colon. Structure of large intestine. The first part of large intestine known as cecum, along with which appendix is attached. Function of appendix: it can store white blood cells. This is the ileocecal valve. Last part of the small intestine, ileum, opens into the cecum, first part of large intestine, by means of ileocecal valve. Then the second part is known as the colon. The section of the colon that moves upward is known as the ascending colon. That one is known as the transverse colon, and the part or section that moves downward is known as the descending colon. And the last part of the or section of the colon is known as the sigmoid colon. It is named from the fact that it is curved in the form of an S, Greek sigma. Second last part is the rectum, and then comes the anal canal or anus. Rectum, third part of large intestine. Feces formed in the colon. They are collected in the rectum before being excreted through the anus. Anal canal. It is a short passage of about 1.5 inches long, terminating or ends into 2 muscular rings, internal and external sphincters. As waste passes from rectum to anal canal, nerves in the rectum cause internal sphincter to relax and open. So the waste from the rectum will move toward the anus. Then the external sphincter relax and open, permitting the fecal discharge, means moving the waste material out of the body. Defecation, it may be voluntary, means in our control, or involuntary, that is not in our control. Young children learn voluntary control by means of toilet training. Once trained, loss of control may be due to, means once a person become adult, this defecation process may become involuntary due to these reasons. Physical injury, that is damage to the anal sphincter, intense fright or fear condition, inflammatory bowel or intestinal disease, impaired water absorption, psychological and neurological factors. Diagram showing the anal sphincter. This is the second last part of the large intestine and rectum, which opens into the anal canal. The 2 type of sphincter, one is known as the internal anal sphincter, second one is known as the external anal sphincter. When the internal anal sphincter relax and open, waste material from the rectum moves toward the anal canal, and when this external anal sphincter become open, Waste material will move out of the body with through this part known as the anus.